Hey guys, time for another update. So, stuff's not going very well. Um, the good news is I have four corners that have brakes and, the ability to theoretically put wheels on them. I just need to plumb the brakes in, bleed them, all that stuff. The bad news is the wiring is just shot. I haven't found a single splice connector in this car. It's all been electrical tape and twists. Um, a lot of electrical tape, a lot of twists. Some of the stuff's fine. This is the headlight harness. There's nothing wrong there. Just need to clean everything up. But I think this car has had a little dash fire in its past, or at least tried to catch on fire. I've got the instrument cluster out while I was cleaning up the speedometer and tach and stuff like that and getting them working. And you can kind of see like those wires right there, those brown wires. That was all just wrapped in electrical tape. And I could, I guess, try to piecemeal this back together and restore it. But I think that's a massive losing battle. Instead, I'm going to be doing a lot of research, into finding some sort of hot rod wiring harness for this car. This thing has basically two circuits, if that hardly. It's incredibly simple. So I think it makes a lot of sense to rewire the whole car, starting from the battery, new battery cables, everything comes out. So, yeah. Somebody had tried to fix this, obviously, and it did start when I bought the car. We did start it and it ran fine, but I pulled the radio out thinking that it was a stock Triumph radio or something from the period, and it was actually out of a 70s Datsun. So in the process of that, I pulled out some of these wires that, this is new wiring. I added that connector there, and thought that was basically just for the radio, pulled the radio out, and it killed the car. And I started tracking that down, and they had taken, I've actually replaced this wire already, this one brown wire with another cable that runs off there. But they had taken the end of a brown wire and spliced together those red and black wires to make up the gauge difference, because they're using like 18 gauge versus 12 gauge that it called for. And ran that, and they were clearly bypassing all of this nightmare trying to, So for about $150, I've already found in just a few minutes looking a hot rod wiring harness that's like 12 circuits, and it's actually way more than this car needs. It'll get me more fuses, modern electronics. I won't have to deal with Lucas, except for the stuff that you see and touch. Those I'll still keep Lucas. But everything else I'll splice in new modern wiring. I might even add like a big weather pack connector. So if I want to take the hood off, I just pull one connection out and take the whole hood off. Yeah, so the car wasn't starting at all, and there was no power going to the ignition switch. It was this main wire, and I haven't finished tracking that down yet, but the deeper I get, the more I realize that this is just not a salvageable thing. This is the old regulator, Lucas current voltage regulator, made in England. It's really cool looking inside. I wish I didn't have the cover on while I'm filming this. It looks very steampunky, and that I think is going to have to go into some sort of wall art for me, because I just really like that. The back of the car, there's hardly any wiring. So we've got lights, 5 lights back here, a fuel gauge, and that's it. Who knows, maybe I'll add an alarm, something like that. I've got some ideas to make this thing a little bit harder to steal, but we'll have to figure that out as we get there. I even today went and bought a big pack of wiring, and that'll come in handy. I've already used some of it, so I can't return it anyway. But yeah, the cool thing is that, like I said, I've got brakes. Everything up here is new. There's still a little bit of play in the steering, but actually there really isn't. I can move the steering about an inch before it starts to translate out to the wheels, which is as good as my 85 Mercedes and pretty close to a new car. So the, idiot in me wants to just start ripping wires out, but that's not how we're going to do things. I'm going to be labeling everything, pulling this entire harness out. It's a really good time. I've also got access to the transmission. I don't think I showed this before, but I have access to the transmission and the shifter. I've already rebuilt the shift linkage, which is miles better than it was before. It's still not exactly modern car, and then I need some tuning, but I actually can find reverse now. But I'm going to do the clutch, and I've still got to deal with the floors. I'm still debating on what I'm going to do, but this is going to be at least a 3 to 6 month setback, but it's not really a setback. It's going to get me a better car in the end. I'll be rebuilding. I'm going to take the entire interior out of this. If I'm going to take the wiring out, it's a perfect time to weld in the floors. Pull the fuel tank, treat the fuel tank. I've got stuff to do that. I think I'm going to put half plant pans in this that are going to go from that red cross member forward, and then weld in patches in the back. We'll see when I take a wire brush to it. I still do need to find the correct, this is the turn signal indicator, but I should have a headlight indicator. I want to keep the things that you touch stock. That's, I think that's cooler than trying to go full custom on this thing, but I want it to be performing like a modern car. So, and when I do this, that gives me more wiring options for the engine bay in case I ever need to do an engine swap or anything like that. So, yeah, it's gonna be a while. I actually was hoping to get it running last night, but it's not safe to mess with this wiring. This is quite clearly, that's got to have been an engine fire or a wiring fire. Some of these wires are actually fused together, and I can't even get them apart. It's not like a lamp cord. I thought it was lamp cord at first, but I mean, that looks like it just, you can actually see individual strands of wire inside of that heat shrink there. It's not a very good shot, but so maybe while we're in there, we might do some fun things like LED lighting. Might as well make this, these cars are mechanically dead simple and electrically bad, so we might as well fix that and do it right. So I'm going to spend the weekend out here labeling stuff, and the goal will be to get the wiring harness out, get the dash out, get the seats out. That'll take 3 minutes. They're 4 bolts each. Probably cover the windshield, so if I'm welding in here, I've got place. I'm not gonna ruin that. But yeah, other cool things other than the brakes and the suspension are I've got the speedometer mechanism working. It was completely seized. I shot some video of this. I don't know how good that video is going to end up being, but this is entirely mechanical except for the light switches, the light bulbs there. So it was seized up. I had to use a torch to heat up right here, this input shaft, and then I had to tap the, that shaft, and you can't really see it on that end. I took that little circlip off and tapped that back and forth with a little tiny brass hammer until it freed up. I'd like to get a new faceplate for this, but it's okay. It's just not great. But we're not doing a concourse restoration now. We never were. This was never going to be a 100% stock car. So this is the other side brake. It's obviously making a right turn. Stuff like this, there's no reason that I can't rewire that with a new harness. It's just a motor. A few extra wires there, we'll figure it out. Back brakes are together. I don't look it, but there's definitely some friction there. The pads haven't seated or anything yet. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.